first. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I'll bet when most of you men in the audience tonight hear the words ballroom dancing, you immediately go into shock and think, that's just way too girly for me. Or that you have 2 left feet and there's no way anyone's going to get you out on the dance floor. And you know what? In either case, those thoughts are going to dominate your psyche every time the subject comes up. There's almost no way around it. And even though you may go out there and pretend to be Fred Astaire and trip over your own feet, and maybe trip over your partner's, or maybe, even like me, trip your partner, if it wasn't my lovely wife, you need to think about what you're missing. Because maybe you can dance. Maybe you do look good. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, I'm here to tell you, don't let those things intimidate you. I know most of us see women go out to the dance floor and they dance great right away. But you know what? Even the fairer sex has difficulty with it. Without a little bit of instruction for the first time, they don't look that good. So tonight I'd like to dissuade you from thinking that for some ungodly reason, ballroom dancing is not for you guys. And women, the women in the audience tonight, you will appreciate that. Of course, if your spouse is here and decides to take up dancing with you. Now, my wife and I took ballroom dancing for about 5 years. And of course, we came across a lot of people that had just started out dancing for the first time, and the men universally would say the same thing. I can't dance. I have 2 left feet. Well, you know, it's just like you learned in college sociology class. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And if you let yourself fall into that trap, you will get discouraged and quickly not want to dance at all. You'll end it right there. You won't even have a chance. Or, as my instructor used to say, another thing that will sabotage you is that most couples, when they got together on the dance floor, ended up quitting dancing or taking lessons because they would fight. The man would probably make a mistake somewhere. The woman would accuse him of doing something. He would get offended and they would stop dancing. If you can believe that. Something that's so fun that you'd be trying to do. But, you know, I'm here to tell you, just like in grade school, guys, when the girls were all good at math and science, you do get better. The playing field levels out. Men become just as good as dancers as women do, and in not very long of a period of time. Furthermore, what made the fact of my tripping of my partner a little easier to bear was what my instructor had told me in the beginning, and that is that most often when women, or when couples that is, fall on the dance floor or make mistakes, it's almost always the fault of the woman. And that's because they fail to follow the man's lead. And that seems logical. Does it not? Now culturally, ballroom dancing has been in decline for the last probably 30 to 40 years. No question about that. But there was a time when in Hollywood, every major motion picture at the time, the top picture of the year, involved some type of dancing, some type of ballroom dancing. No question about it. There was a time when everyone in Hollywood, all the stars, knew how to dance, and they did so frequently. TV, movies, radio, they all dealt with ballroom dance. At some point, television shows were, the television airways were littered with shows like the Perry Como Show. Some of you may remember that. Lawrence Welk. They all played to ballroom dance forms. And if you went out on a date, you needed to know how to dance. So when you were in school, most often, your teachers would formally get you together as a way just to hang out and to be social, and you needed to learn how to dance. Girls and boys. Your parents made you do it too. Because where were you going to go if you didn't know how to dance? What were you going to do? Sit on the side of the room when you were out at a party or a function? We used to have Toastmaster installation dinners. I'm going to a dinner tomorrow night. We're going to have to dance. I'd like to enjoy it and have some fun. But we don't know about that because, well, we don't really see it that much in our culture anymore. You know, the one thing that that's happened in ballroom is it's sort of been relegated to the back alleys of TV. You know, nowadays all you're going to see in terms of ballroom is maybe the dance sport competitions on Saturday nights on PBS. And you certainly don't get a big audience for that. But recently, just in the last couple years, we've had this hit show, Dances with the Stars. Now guys, who would have thought Emmitt Smith, one of the best running backs in football for God's sakes, would have been a competitor in that competition and won? I don't know. But I do know this, that he is now touring the country to packed audiences at venues like the Allstate Arena doing his dance. You know, it's been said that marriage is kind of like a violin. Once the sweet music is over, the strings are still attached. It's also been said that marriage is like a 3-ring circus. You have the engagement ring, the wedding ring, and then the suffering. Now you might think I'm crazy to suggest to you that ballroom dancing is something that might help your relationship, considering that I just told you many couples do get into fights over something like that. But sticking with cliches for a minute, you kind of do need to break some eggs to make an omelet. And when you spend that time together with your wife or your partner dancing, you find that you come to an understanding of each other in a much more calm and non-relationship threatening manner. I would suggest it highly. And not only that, but where else can you spend quality time alone with your partner, make new friends, and get some great exercise? And most important of all, learn something that people are going to be impressed with for the rest of your life. Learning the ballroom dance has been one of the most gratifying experiences that I've ever encountered in my life. And I harbor no illusions that I one day may be participating in a show like Dances with the Stars. But I will never forget, just like riding a bike, I will never forget some of the wonderful dances that I have learned. And while I don't think that I've lost a lot of weight from many of the dances that I've done, I can tell you this, that when we go out dancing, people always say that we look wonderful together. And then they ask us, "Can we learn to do that too?"